Good morning. I titled today's blog simply Here. The scriptures that I listed are Luke 6:46, but why do you call me Lord, Lord, and not do the things which I say? Then I also thought of Ephesians 1:18, the eyes of your understanding being enlightened, that you may know what is the hope of his calling, what are the riches of the glory of his inheritance in the saints. And what was on my mind as I was writing this is, and what I'm seeing in the people that I come in contact with, the people in my circle of influence that are really seeking God, that I know that are really after God. But what I constantly run into over and over, and what I can see, and it's like I can't even hardly tell them what I see, but what I see is the thing that's hindering us from walking in his fullness is our refusal to obey something that he is telling us to do. It's not easy. It is definitely not easy to overcome our flesh. It's something that I'm sure we're probably all going to spend the rest of our lives doing. But to me, it's a matter of obedience, and it's a matter of doing what he tells us to do. Not necessarily what a preacher would tell you, or what religion would tell you, or what the Ten Commandments necessarily. Jesus says more than once that the law or the Ten Commandments are fulfilled in one thing, in one word, is to love our neighbor as ourselves. He says on that hinge all the commandments. So that's what he calls us to do. He calls us to love. But he also says in order to find life, we must lose our life. Every single one of us have things not of God embedded, ingrained in our nature and our character. We can't get rid of it overnight. But we have to do what we can to stand. We have to do the things that he says do if we're going to grow. And a lot of times it's not easy. It may be 100 million different things with any of us, but the thing that don't never understand me. I never want anybody to think, well, I think I'm perfect. I don't want you to think that. But I do all I can to stand every day. And yes, once in a while I will allow some kind of my own mind to justify doing something, which deep down I know is not right. I am not saying I'm perfect, but guess what? I'm always convicted. I am convicted if I get out of God's will. So I immediately, let's say if I did something, let's just say I did something yesterday that I knew was not of God, that God says don't do. What do I do? Every morning, if to start with, God's got to convict me of it. I'm not saying, I may have done something I didn't even get convicted by, but anytime I do anything that cuts to my heart, he says the word is sharper than any two-edged sword and cuts to you, and it cuts inside. So if anytime anything like that happens, I know the next morning, as soon as I say, God, I'm weak, I'm a helpless sinner, forgive me, Lord, he does. But he does not want us to stay there. He wants us to grow and grow. And if we're ever going to do greater works than Jesus did, that's what he tells us, that we will do greater works. If we're ever going to do that, we must live by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. So we cannot say, well, these scriptures, they say a lot of things about us, and it says that we are the righteousness of God. Well, for me personally, I heard someone say, if I can believe that, I am. I just need to believe it. Well, it's true that we need to believe it, but I can't believe it unless I do it. You know what I'm saying? I have to be holy as he is holy. That's what he tells us to do, be holy as he is doing. But at the same time, understand this. I can't do anything without his help. We have to have his help, constantly leaning to him constantly looking towards him and constantly asking him, Lord, I'm weak. Lord, help me. I want to, but Lord, I need your help. And ever so gradually, as we stay immersed in his word, as we commune with him, for me, it's a thing almost hardly ever does an hour or so go by that the Lord doesn't come into my thoughts, that I don't think about something or ask him I need help with something or whatever. And that's what he wants. He wants that relationship. He wants us to walk in a constant relationship. Well, guess what? If I knowingly sin, if I knowingly do something that I know he says not to do, I'm in condemnation and I lose that relationship. And for me, it is so important to maintain, to nourish, to be in constant relationship with God, to be in constant communion with him. It helps me to stay on the right path because I just so appreciate his anointing and his freedom and everything that he gives me. I must do all I can to stand. That's what he tells us to do. Do everything we can to stand. I am totally convinced that the only thing that is keeping his people from doing the greater works is obedience, is obeying him. And I'm still not, hey, I'm not casting out demons, or I know that I say things and do things that actually does cause demons to run. And I think I am. God is already using me for certain things, but I'm not seeing people healed instantly. And all the things that I know is coming. There's great things coming as we choose to follow him and as we obey him. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.